Having been raised in the south side of Chicago, I went to the Chicago public schools when I was younger, before my mom put me into Catholic schools. And one of my fondest memories, believe it or not, was the peanut butter cookies that the Chicago public system, school system had. And those cookies were so good. And over the years, I have tried every way possible to find that cookie recipe, and I have not been successful until just recently. And I got a recipe from a lady by the name of Freda Gable, and I do believe she's right. I believe this is the recipe because I've made them and they taste just like that. Just filled up my brain with childhood memories. So what we start with is 5 sticks of butter, or you're going to need 1 1/4 pounds, same thing. You're going to need 3 eggs, and I would say to use 3 large eggs and get them at room temperature. I'm going to use a little bit of my Mexican vanilla, but any vanilla will do. I just like my Mexican vanilla. You're going to need 1 pound of peanut butter. You could use the chunky or the creamy. Of course, the ladies in the lunchroom only use the creamy. Then you're going to need brown sugar. What we're going to need there for brown sugar is 1 3/4 cup. Baking soda, any type you have, is a teaspoon of baking soda. Sugar, you're going to need 1 3/4 cup of sugar. And then we're going to need 3/4 teaspoon of salt. And we're going to mix this up, and we are going to make some dynamite peanut butter cookies. Good Lord, I cannot forget that I'm going to have white flour. Well, you could use a mixture of white flour and wheat flour too, but we need about 5 1/2 cups of flour for this recipe. This recipe is going to produce 9 dozen peanut butter cookies. Put your butter in a bowl and you mix it until the butter gets nice and fluffy. Now, according to the recipe, we put in 2 1/2 cups of sugar, and it says slowly, but I don't have time for all that. And you know what? I made these and they're delicious. So here we go, 2 1/2 cups of sugar. Now I'll let that blend up, and then I'll put in the brown sugar. Now, a lot of new people don't know that when you measure brown sugar, you should push down on it and make sure that it's firm. That's how you measure 1 3/4 cup. Brown sugar, you do not measure loosely. It has to be very dense. In brown sugar, we're going to have 1 3/4 cup. Now, in case you don't have brown sugar, you take a little bit of molasses and you put it in the white sugar until you find what you like. Okay, I'm using the light brown sugar this time, but you can use the dark brown sugar. All that is a little bit more molasses. So now add your brown sugar. I swear, if it can happen, it's going to happen to me. There you go. You know, this thing that they have as an attachment that you pay about 20 bucks for, it's really more of a pain in the butt than it's worth. And as you see, it's all blending up. We want it to get nice and mixed up, so let's just keep. There you go. About 3 minutes, I think. Keep scraping the sides down. I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of my vanilla. Homemade's always so much better. And then we're going to crack the eggs in here 1 at a time. Now, with the way I crack eggs, I don't tend to have shells, but just for the video, I'm going to crack them 1 at a time and drop them in there. Y'all know I cannot stand mixing up everything in all kinds of different pans. So I'll do that with each egg. Egg number 2. Let that all incorporate. Egg 3. There you go. Stop the blender. Lift it up. Make sure you scrape down the sides. You want to keep doing that. I noticed there's a new attachment for this that you don't have to do this anymore. So I'm going to see if I can't purchase that. It's just a wider blade with some rubber on the end. Why they didn't just make that one to begin with? This is not a cheap blender by any means. When it's totally incorporated, we're just going to bring it back up, and I'm going to put all my peanut butter in there, the whole jar. So I cleaned out the whole jar of peanut butter, and I put it in the blender with all my eggs and sugars and that. The only thing not in here yet is the flour. We're going to blend that up so it's all nice and blended. And make sure that you keep scraping down the sides. And there's only one way to tell. Looks beautiful. Oh, good cookies. So now I'm going to put the flour in here. So I need to make sure that I'm going to use a wooden spoon or a plastic spoon for this process of putting in the flour, because this gets very, very thick. And I don't want to ruin the motor on my new machine. I want to show you what my good friend Tammy got me and why I was inspired to make these cookies in the first place. It's a 1-gallon canning jar for cookies. I mean, it's a cookie jar, but does she know me or what? A canning jar. Oh, I think that is the best. I love it. So now what we need is like 5½ cups of flour. And once again, I remember I watched my grandma and that. They didn't get all nutty. Pie, for some reason with pie crust, they used to do all that sifting. But here's 1 cup. I'm going to go ahead and put in about 3 cups. And then I'll mix that all up. And then I'll add my other 2½ cups. There you go. Yeah, I know. I hear it all the time. But you didn't sift your flour. Well, my flour was nice to begin with. This makes a lot of cookies, people. And I'll put in another 1, 2, there we go. You know, prepping means more than just putting food in a closet and forgetting you have it. And it means about making sure you got enough toothpaste, and my church recommends you have enough to survive on your own for at least a year. So I think there's something to that. And then you should have half, and you know, it depends on the humidity. I'm gonna say that's about a half. And I've made these before, so but it's getting very hard, very hard. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna ball this up. I'd say about a tablespoon. It depends. If you want big cookies, have big cookies. I just take a bunch out like that, roll it in a ball. Now this made, just for this one tray, I'm just going to put 16 cookies on it, because they are going to swell up and they are going to stretch. Now what you're going to do is take a fork, dip it in the flour, and you're going to go down on the cookie. 2 ways. Alright, after a few times it won't stick. Just real lightly push down on your cookie. There you go. See how fast this gets going. Now these look like they're little mini throw in your mouth 1 bites, but in reality these are going to swell up. So they're going to get quite big. So you see how I did that. Now you do that with the rest of them. When you're done doing that, put them in the oven at 375 for 10 to 11 minutes. But see how those swelled up? They're beautiful. And this is the first batch that's out. That's beautiful. And look at these with those little candies. Aren't they cute? Melts right into it. It's adorable. Look how nice those came out. And that's the parchment paper after 4 dozen cookies. or 4 batches of 16 cookies. You see how nice one sheet of parchment paper is? It saves your pans. Okay, I made 7 batches of 16 cookies. 7 batches of them, and each batch had 16 cookies. And look, them are nice size cookies. Them aren't mini 1-bites. And I still have all this left over. So I'm going to make a log. I'm going to put it in wax paper, and I'm going to put it in the refrigerator because I'm tired. And you see, you have a big enough row, just like in the refrigerated section at your store. And you know how much you pay for that. Wrapped it up. And I'll be able to make cookies towards the end of the week if I want to. If I wanted to do this long term, I'd just stick it in the freezer.
Creamsicles.
And these are nuts.